Following the previous part, Yoonjong's victory left the entire audience silent. Gradually, a few people began to stand up, and then a thunderous cheer echoed through the mountain, congratulating Yoonjong. Senior brother has won, we have finally won. Manhwa was going crazy. Not only the disciples but even the elders were excited, especially the sect leader, who was so delighted he almost ascended to heaven. Amid the cheers, Junyoung walked straight to Joel-gun. Joel-gun, still in a daze, stammered, asking how his senior brother managed to win. Junyoung, understanding completely, interrupted, saying, "Junior brother, just go up. You can't lose even if you want to." He then turned to Chung Myung, smiling unconsciously, now understanding why the kid hadn't said anything special to him earlier. Chung Myung confirmed that he hadn't done anything special, he had just enabled the brothers to win. Ignoring Joel-gun, who was left standing bewildered, discussing the previous fight. Chung Myung believed the Southern Edge sect was indeed strong but also quite weak because they had learned too many things beyond what they needed at their age. Learning a lot is an advantage, but it's like a tower built rapidly without a strong foundation, it will collapse when it encounters a solid, lower-built tower. The essence of martial arts starts with perfecting basic movements. From this foundation, roots will grow, then the trunk rises above the ground, branches spread in all directions, and development continues. All he did was help his brothers focus on their roots. Looking at Joel-gun's movements now, it was clear he had changed significantly. His lower body was stable, his sword strikes decisive, and his focus was on crucial points. Most importantly, the concentrated force allowed him to utilize his entire body's strength to deliver a decisive blow to his current opponent. Just this alone was enough to overwhelm peers. In theory, it sounds easy, but not everyone can achieve it. Training to the point of feeling like life and death, constantly pushing the body to its limits and repeating this day after day. If such unreasonable efforts are made in reality, the results are as the brothers see. The sound of victory celebrations rang out again. At this moment, Yoonjong realized that 4 consecutive victories had occurred in the blink of an eye. Besides himself and Joel-gun, the martial arts of the remaining junior brothers were not significantly different. If the current situation mirrored the previous matches, the outcome was predictable. Indeed, Manhwa had finally overwhelmed the Southern Edge sect as he had thought. Ultimately, the 10th match ended with a complete victory for Manhwa. The situation entirely reversed from their previous crushing defeat with these 10 consecutive wins. The side with more momentum and a stronger sense of victory was clear. Yoonjong couldn't contain himself. He turned to thank his junior brother. "Thanks to you, we won." Unexpectedly, at this moment, Chung Myung still wore a dissatisfied expression, asserting, "The match isn't over yet. We lost 10 matches in a row, and now, even if we win 10 more, it's just a tie." He stood up and declared, "A tie is not in Chung Myung's dictionary." Ignoring his brother's pale attempts to stop him, Chung Myung silently grasped his wooden sword, preparing to step onto the stage. If the result were to end simply like this, he wouldn't have started. The debt of stealing Manhwa's precious plum blossom sword technique had not been repaid, and now they had added the crime of speaking nonsense in front of the sect leader. If he let these insolent brats return unscathed, how could he dare to call himself Chung Myung? Before going, he called his senior brothers and requested one thing: "What I'm about to do now, you must watch carefully, not missing a single move." Hearing this, everyone became even more confused. Looking at Chung Myung, they followed his back as if mesmerized, sharing a common feeling that this was the back of the person who would lead the Manhwa sect. At this moment, the sect leader, too overjoyed, had his blood and energy in turmoil, needing his junior brother to transfer some internal energy to him. He exhaled a long breath as if relieved of decades of burden. He now felt he could die with pride, meeting his ancestors with honor. Unbeknownst to him, a disaster was about to strike. Chung Myung, grasping his wooden sword, stepped onto the stage ahead. Those defeated wretches were all useless. Elder Sima Sung was furious, scolding his disciples, "You idiots. How dare you lose so miserably and even think of returning to the Southern Edge?" He berated them, saying they had dragged the Southern Edge sect's honor into the dirt. Jin Jumryong, too, seemed to have lost his mind, wanting to kill someone immediately. His dream of a perfect victory had turned into a pile of dung, and he couldn't even maintain a semblance of victory. Before he could finish venting his anger, Chung Myung's call interrupted. He asked Sir Huang to decide the outcome and declare the victor. Previously, he and everyone else had been too excited to understand Chung Myung's question. It became clear that the young master did not intend to end the Manhwa Southern Edge meeting with an inconclusive result. He turned to the Merchant Guild and suggested that everyone should support a clear win-loss outcome. Once everyone agreed, Chung Myung proposed an additional contest. Excluding those who had already lost, the remaining victors would fight again. Wouldn't that settle everything? Yoon Jong and Joel Gun's faces pale, objected because the opponents were all masters, while they were merely third-generation disciples. Ignoring them, Chung Myung continued, instead of the previous method of one-on-one matches, which is boring, now the winner will continue to fight the next challenger until one side is entirely defeated. Isn't that more interesting? He looked at the seething Southern Edge sect members and drew his thumb across his neck in a taunting gesture, daring them to admit defeat if they were scared. This challenge was unavoidable. Being equally cunning, Elder Sima Sung knew this wasn't good and opposed it. Unexpectedly, the Merchant Guild calmed him down, suggesting they accept the boys' challenge. The sect leader, who had just recovered a bit, was now bewildered by this new situation. Seeing his confusion, the disciplinarian spoke up, "Please agree. This kid is very intelligent. Though a bit excessive at times, I've never felt any foolishness in our conversations. On the contrary, it feels like he's toying with me. A child like this surely understands our concerns and must have a strategy in hand, so please, sect leader, agree." After pondering for a while and receiving the elder's approval, the sect leader realized that even if they lost, it wouldn't be a significant loss. More importantly, he trusted Chung Myung, so he declared, "Manhwa agrees," which startled Sima Sung. Indeed, under pressure from all sides, Sima Sung couldn't remain silent and angrily roared, "If that's the case, the Southern Edge sect also agrees." Seizing the opportunity, Chung Myung gave a sly smile but was immediately dragged back by Yoon Jong, who scolded him, "What are you trying to do? How can we beat those second-generation disciples? Jin Jumryong, the greatest talent in Shaanxi, is among them, you know that?" Chung Myung fully understood and agreed that they were very strong. If it were any other second-generation disciples, Yoon Jong might stand a chance, but once Jin Jumryong entered the fray, the third-generation disciples of Manhwa would likely be crushed instantly. Jin Jumryong was on a completely different level. On the other side, Elder Sima Sung, speculating on the young lad's plan, felt dizzy. Jin Jumryong reassured him, "As long as I don't lose, no matter how many come, I'll defeat them all." Sima Sung opposed it, thinking it unnecessary to fall into the enemy's trap. "You will be the last to fight. The first will be you, Beck." As their strategy took shape, they asked Chung Myung about their plan. He nonchalantly hoisted his sword onto his shoulder, returned to the stage, and muttered, "Plan? I am the plan. Come on, Southern Edge." You Beck, infuriated but cautious, faced the arrogant youngster. Chung Myung knew that no matter how strong Manhwa was, it wouldn't matter unless proven. They needed to make everyone physically and visually experience the changes in Manhwa. This was the fastest way to restore their declining reputation. Creating a legend that the third-generation disciples of Manhwa defeated those who had bested their masters would be astonishing. More so, if a single third-generation disciple of Manhwa defeated all the Southern Edge disciples, it would shake the entire martial world. He called out to his senior brothers, "Remember what I said, watch closely, don't miss a thing." With that, Chung Myung gripped his sword tightly, saluted, and declared, "Third-generation disciple of Manhwa, Chung Myung, requests to spar with Southern Edge's Yu Beck." Unfazed, Yu Beck replied, "Second-generation disciple of Southern Edge, Yu Beck, accepts the challenge." Yoon Jong found it strange that Chung Myung, who usually provoked opponents, now carried the demeanor of a sword practitioner stepping into a life-or-death battlefield. Intuition told him something extraordinary was about to happen, making him jump up and shout to his junior brothers, "Watch Chung Myung closely, don't miss any move." Joel Gun, feeling the tension, obeyed and focused entirely on the stage, where a gleam in Chung Myung's eyes signaled the dawn of a new legend. Yu Beck then launched a barrage of attacks so swiftly that even the sect leader struggled to follow. However, Chung Myung remained unfazed, calmly stopping Yu Beck's strike. Yu Beck was shocked. Chung Myung countered with a heavy blow, causing Yu Beck's hand to tremble. Yu Beck realized that Chung Myung was using basic sword techniques, yet they were executed with such speed and power that he couldn't find an opening to use his own 12-movement snowflower sword technique. Yu Beck couldn't believe Chung Myung suppressed him with mere basics and without allowing any counterattack. From that moment, he started to question Chung Myung's true identity. Sima Xiong began to fear what Chung Myung might become if left unchecked, worrying that he would one day overshadow the Southern Edge sect, just as the Plum Blossom Sword Supreme had done in the past. Unbeknownst to him, Chung Myung was exactly the person he feared. Sima Xiong called for Seo Han to spar with Chung Myung next, instructing him to drag out the match. Seo Han entered the arena, determined not to underestimate his opponent. Yet, he felt immense pressure from Chung Myung. Before he could even prepare, Chung Myung's sword struck, forcing Seo Han to his knees with sheer strength. Chung Myung swiftly knocked Seo Han out with a single blow. Chung Myung then challenged the Southern Edge sect disciples again. Yoon Jong and others were in shock, witnessing Chung Myung defeat Seo Han with one move. Chung Myung, unsatisfied, wanted to leave an indelible scar on the Southern Edge sect for their past transgressions against the Manhwa sect. The Manhwa sect had sacrificed everything to stop the heavenly demon, yet the Southern Edge sect mocked them, stole their sword skills, and plotted their downfall. Chung Myung, unable to contain his rage, demanded his next opponent. As Chung Myung faced his next challenger, he decided to showcase a Manhwa sect sword technique. Joel Gun recognized it immediately as the falling sword petal. Chung Myung's skill was evident as he swiftly defeated Xiao Han, who lost his composure and attacked blindly. Chung Myung struck him repeatedly and ended with a blow that could have decapitated Xiao Han if it were a real sword. Yoon Jong realized the true power of their sword technique, understanding that Chung Myung was demonstrating the superiority of Manhwa's skills over the Southern Edge sect. Chung Myung continued defeating Southern Edge disciples, now with 6 already fallen. The remaining disciples feared facing him. Jin Jumryong, angered by their cowardice, decided to fight Chung Myung himself. However, Sima Xiong stopped him, ordering second-class disciple Mangyok to fight instead, with the task of tiring Chung Myung out. In private, Sima Xiong admitted to Jin Jumryong that he doubted the second-class disciples could defeat Chung Myung, acknowledging his strength. Sima Xiong expressed his concern that if left unchecked, Chung Myung would become a major threat to the Southern Edge sect. Jin Jumryong was confused and angered by Sima Xiong's fear of Chung Myung, as it implied that he, too, was no match for him. Despite recognizing Chung Myung's strength, Jin Jumryong couldn't accept that Chung Myung might surpass him and become a significant obstacle to the Southern Edge sect's ambitions. Sima Xiong bluntly told Jin Jumryong that those who vied for the title of geniuses were not truly geniuses, they were monsters. Monsters defied common sense, like breathing air, using their strength to break the laws of nature. These were the ones who made talent seem unimportant. As Sima Xiong continued, Jin Jumryong trembled in frustration, while Chung Myung, the so-called monster, had already defeated another second-class disciple of the Southern Edge sect. Just as Jin Jumryong was about to release his frustration, Sima Xiong interrupted, stating that although Chung Myung was a monster, he was still a child. He compared him to a young tiger that could be killed by dogs if not cautious. This made Jin Jumryong wonder about Sima Xiong's intentions. Sima Xiong then, with menacing eyes, instructed Jin Jumryong to kill Chung Myung. He argued that despite Chung Myung's monstrous talent, Jin Jumryong could still defeat him, and they needed to eliminate him before he reached his full potential. Jin Jumryong thought Sima Xiong had gone insane and tried to calm him, suggesting they should think rationally. But Sima Xiong insisted, warning that if Jin Jumryong didn't act, he would forever live in Chung Myung's shadow. Realizing Sima Xiong's point, Jin Jumryong saw the truth in his words. Jin Jumryong asserted that Chung Myung would never overshadow him. However, he agreed to stop Chung Myung if he threatened the future of the Southern Edge sect. Sima Xiong smiled evilly, approving Jin Jumryong's resolve. Meanwhile, Chung Myung aimed for 10 consecutive wins, though he anticipated difficulty, especially with Jin Jumryong likely appearing last. As he thought of this, Song Baek entered the arena. Song Baek, aware he couldn't win, expressed his determination not to let his sect be humiliated. Chung Myung admired Song Baek's resolve and, finding him the only Southern Edge sect member he didn't hate, decided to show him something significant. Chung Myung intended to demonstrate the level of skill Song Baek could eventually achieve, which would greatly benefit or harm him. As Song Baek approached, he found himself in a pitch-black surrounding, unable to see Chung Myung until he realized he was behind him. Song Baek understood that what he was witnessing wasn't real but was struck by the power that rendered him defenseless. He was hit on the head and, before fainting, remarked that he saw the Sword of Unification, a level of swordsmanship where the swordsman becomes one with the sword. After defeating 9 people, only Jin Jumryong remained. Chung Myung called out to him. Meanwhile, the sect leader questioned if such a moment had ever occurred in Manhwa sect's history, recalling even the Plum Blossom Sword Saints era. Sect leader had long awaited the day when Manhwa could stand proudly before the Southern Edge sect. As Jin Jumryong entered the arena, his fellow disciples looked at him expectantly, a new experience for him. Jin Jumryong told Chung Myung that excessive humility could be disrespectful and that humility didn't suit him. He acknowledged Chung Myung's capabilities, saying his victory proved his extraordinary talent. However, he considered it unfortunate to share the same era with him and regretted that Chung Myung chose the Manhwa sect over the Southern Edge sect, believing he could surpass him there. Chung Myung questioned this, and Jin Jumryong confidently replied that the Manhwa sect was still trying to regain its old martial arts and glory, while the Southern Edge sect continuously innovated, creating new martial arts and systems, which was why they would never lose to Manhwa. Chung Myung admired Jin Jumryong's skills, confidence, and loyalty to his sect, although he knew their martial arts were stolen from Manhwa. As the Plum Blossom Sword Supreme, Chung Myung would demonstrate the true nature of these techniques. He confidently faced Jin Jumryong, promising to give him a memorable gift for the future. The Manhwa sect disciples watched silently. Yoonjong heard Baek Chun, injured and barely able to walk, insist on witnessing the fight between Jin Jumryong and Chung Myung. Despite his pain and needing treatment, he insisted on cheering Chung Myung from up close. Baek Chun, on his knees, hoped for Chung Myung to win. As the fight between Jin Jumryong and Chung Myung began, both disappeared from the audience's view due to their speed. They exchanged blows rapidly, with Jin Jumryong growing irritated while Chung Myung remained composed. Jo Gul couldn't see anything due to their speed. Jin Jumryong then used the 12-movement snow flower sword technique, creating beautiful white petals. Chung Myung scoffed, recognizing it as an imitation of the 24 Plum Blossom sword technique, albeit on a higher level. Jin Jumryong's attack grazed Chung Myung, who wiped the blood from his cheek. Jin Jumryong mocked the Manhwa sect sword techniques, claiming the Southern Edge sect's techniques would be remembered. Chung Myung ridiculed Jin Jumryong's technique, calling it an empty shell compared to the original. Jin Jumryong, enraged, vowed to kill Chung Myung with his sword technique. As he unleashed a powerful attack, Baek Chun and the others worried for Chung Myung. However, Chung Myung prepared to counter with the 7 Plum Blossom sword technique. Despite concerns from the elders, Chung Myung was confident. Chung Myung explained that any Manhwa sect sword technique could make flowers bloom, not just the Plum Blossom technique. As their attacks collided, Jin Jumryong's technique withered against Chung Myung's. Jin Jumryong, confused and agitated, couldn't understand how his seemingly perfect technique was defeated. Chung Myung revealed that the Manhwa sect sword techniques weren't just about creating the illusion of plum blossoms but about the action of blooming itself. He emphasized that the essence of the Manhwa sect's techniques was about bringing forth new life, regardless of the specific flower. Chung Myung's mastery demonstrated that the Southern Edge sect's focus on the allure and sharpness of the techniques missed the deeper purpose of true growth and vitality inherent in the Manhwa sect's teachings. Thus, the misunderstanding of their sword techniques persisted, akin to Jin Jumryong's current plight. Without explicitly stating it, Chung Myung implied that their defeat against his technique would leave an enduring mark on their memories, shaping their future endeavors. He passionately affirmed the Manhwa sect's resilience, declaring that they would endure regardless of challenges. Chung Myung invoked the Plum Blossom Whirlwind technique, engulfing Jumryong in a mesmerizing display of pink plum blossoms. As Jumryong fell to his knees, the battle had finally come to an end. With tears of joy, Chung Myung declared the Manhwa sect the winner of the conference. The disciples celebrated wildly, reflecting on their first victory against the Southern Edge sect. Meanwhile, Chung Myung, concealing his internal injury, looked to the sky, contemplating the sect's future. Afterward, Chung Myung's moment of introspection was interrupted by the jubilant disciples, reminding him of their unity. As they attempted to toss him in the air, he protested, but their laughter echoed a sense of camaraderie not seen in years. Watching them, sect leader couldn't help but smile at the sight of Mount Wei sect's disciples united once again. Angam interrupted the sect leader's thoughts, urging them to conclude the situation with the Southern Edge sect. Agreeing, the sect leader approached Sima Xiong, who congratulated him with a menacing glare. Despite Sima Xiong's veiled threats, the sect leader remained humble, attributing their victory to luck. Their conversation was disrupted by Chung Myung's reprimand towards Jogul, mistaking him for Sima Xiong. Jogul, perplexed by the scolding from his junior, was kicked by Chung Myung for his lack of respect. Chung Myung redirected his criticism towards Sima Xiong, taunting him for his rudeness. Sima Xiong, seething with rage, restrained himself as Chung Myung assured the sect leader of his respect. Sima Xiong blamed Chung Myung for the altercation, contemplating killing him. Chung Myung, unfazed, questioned whether one attack would suffice, leaving Sima Xiong bewildered by his insight. As Sima Xiong departed, Chung Myung regarded him with disdain, considering him weak for his empty threats. The sect leader expressed gratitude to Chung Myung, prompting a warm exchange between them. The merchants vied for Hyun Jong's attention, while Hyun Sang and Eun Gum intervened. Amidst the farewell, Song Baek approached Chung Myung, expressing gratitude for his teachings. Chung Myung noted Song Baek's resolve to forge his path, advising caution against his senior brother's prowess. Song Baek, undeterred, affirmed his determination, earning Chung Myung's pride. Chung Myung pondered Song Baek's future as he departed, anticipating a challenging journey. Yoon Jong summoned Chung Myung, igniting his anxiety about facing Hyun Jong. Sweating nervously, Chung Myung contemplated his explanation for using the 7 Plum Blossom technique, aware of the repercussions. Chung Myung found himself deeply troubled about what to say to the sect leader as he entered the sect leader's residence. However, his worries quickly dissipated as he was greeted with annoyance instead, his cheeks being pinched by Hyun Sang, who gleefully dubbed him cute. Hyun Sang's jubilation stemmed from their successful dealings with the merchants, proclaiming Chung Myung as the god of fortune for their newfound prosperity. Amidst the chaos, Hyun Jong's stoic expression belied his exasperation. He directed Chung Myung to follow him to the cliffs of Mount Hwa, where they could converse in peace. It was the second time Chung Myung gazed upon Hyun Jong's back, noting a newfound serenity. Atop the cliff, the sect leader initiated their discussion, questioning Chung Myung's feelings at the pinnacle of Mount Hwa. Chung Myung, flustered, responded simply, prompting the sect leader to inquire about the creation of plum blossoms in his sword technique. The sect leader recognized the significance of Chung Myung's achievement, thanking him earnestly. Their conversation delved deeper as sect leader pondered the significance of the Mount Hwa sect to Chung Myung. Sect leader cautioned Chung Myung about the challenges he might face in the aftermath of their victory, promising to protect him. Touched by Hyun Jong's unwavering support, Chung Myung pledged to journey alongside him, embodying the spirit of the Mount Hwa sect. Later that night, within the White Plum Blossom Hall, the third-class disciples reveled in their triumph against the Southern Edge sect. However, their discussion was abruptly interrupted by Chung Myung's dramatic entrance, kicking open the door and chastising them for their lackluster performance. Chung Myung berated them for celebrating a victory over opponents younger than them, contrasting their complacency with Song Baek's solitary journey to restore his sect's legacy. He scolded them for their mindset during training, admonishing their casual acceptance of mistakes. Yoon Jong attempted to defend their performance, but Chung Myung's frustration only intensified. Chung Myung's tirade instilled fear in the disciples, leaving their ears ringing. As tensions peaked, Baek-chun arrived, prompting Chung Myung to follow him deep into the forest. There, Baek-chun expressed his mixed feelings about Chung Myung's victory over Jin Jumryong, leading to a candid conversation about strength and hierarchy within the sect. Baek-chun admitted his desire to become stronger and requested Chung Myung's guidance, proposing that Chung Myung train the second-class disciples, including himself. However, Chung Myung initially rejected the idea, questioning its utility and his motivations. Their conversation delved into the complexities of sect dynamics and personal ambition. Chung Myung challenged Baek-chun to fully commit to their arrangement, leading to a moment of realization for both of them. Baek-chun pledged his allegiance to Chung Myung, renouncing their hierarchical differences and acknowledging Chung Myung as his master. Chung Myung accepted, recognizing the significance of this declaration. As dawn broke, the third-class disciples reflected on their ongoing training, grappling with the transformative effects of their experiences under Chung Myung's tutelage. As the disciples opened the door to their dormitory, they were startled to find their seniors waiting for them. Chung Myung's unexpected presence only added to their confusion, and Yoon Jong couldn't help but wonder aloud why the seniors were there. With a mischievous smirk, Chung Myung claimed to be deeply moved by the seniors' supposed mistreatment of the juniors. Despite Yoon Jong's internal protests about Chung Myung's harsh treatment, he dared not voice his thoughts aloud. Chung Myung assured them that they could now rest easy, cryptically hinting at a new order where everyone would train equally. With a newfound determination, Chung Myung spurred the disciples into action, his eyes gleaming with ambition and purpose. Meanwhile, Angam observed the scene from a nearby cliff, pondering the mysteries surrounding Chung Myung's origins and abilities. He mused that perhaps curiosity alone was not enough to justify the suspicion surrounding Chung Myung, but the questions persisted nonetheless. Taoism is a philosophy that embraces the fluidity of life, emphasizing acceptance and the boundlessness of its path. In light of this, Eun-gum reasoned that it made little sense to confine Chung Myung, regardless of his demeanor, as long as he remained a disciple of the Mount Hwa sect. Meanwhile, on a cliff overlooking the sect, Chung Myung contemplated the challenges ahead. Though they had overcome one obstacle, he felt the weight of responsibility as he observed the slow progress of the third-class disciples. The burden of leadership weighed heavily on him, prompting him to question whether his past decisions would have altered their outcomes. Quickly shaking off such thoughts, Chung Myung recognized the importance of focusing on the present to build a better future. He understood that growth required patience and commitment, and resolved to lead the sect into the world beyond Mount Hwa. To achieve this, Chung Myung knew he needed to become even stronger, aspiring to one day surpass even the most formidable adversaries. In a moment of reflection, Chung Myung heard his senior brothers whisper, prompting him to reaffirm his determination. With unwavering resolve, Chung Myung vowed to unleash his full potential, envisioning a future where his prowess would command respect and admiration. As time flowed like a river, Chung Myung remained steadfast in his pursuit of strength, driven by a desire to protect and elevate the Mount Hwa sect. Meanwhile, at the sect's gate, a young visitor named Wai Soing sought an urgent audience with the sect leader. Though initially rebuffed, Soing's affiliation with the Hua Shadow Sect piqued the interest of the Mount Hua elders, setting the stage for a fateful encounter within the sect leader's pavilion. Soing arrived at the Mount Hua sect seeking urgent assistance. He explained that their affiliated sect, the Hua Shadow Sect, was under threat from the Path Academy, affiliated with the Wooding Sect. The Path Academy had been aggressively recruiting trainees from neighboring areas, including the Hua Shadow Sect. Soing's father, the sect leader, had clashed with the head of the Path Academy, resulting in significant damage to their sect. Now, the Path Academy seemed determined to drive the Hua Shadow Sect out of Nanyang. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, the sect leader and the elders deliberated on their response. They understood the need to support their affiliated sects to maintain the Mount Hua sect's reputation. However, sending disciples to confront the Wooding sect's affiliates posed risks, considering the sect's formidable reputation. Accepting Ungum's wisdom, the sect leaders decided to send Chung Myung with Soing to assist the Hua Shadow Sect. Yoon Jong, tasked with introducing them, reluctantly complied, leading Soing to witness Chung Myung's intense training at the Plum Blossom Cavern. However, Chung Myung's unrefined demeanor left Soing questioning his expectations. And then a new journey of Chung Myung and his brothers begins, but this video is not like that. Finally, this is the conclusion of Season 1 of the series. Thank you for following this manhwa. Peace.